Death Knights, the unholy warriors of death. They wield dark magic and rune-forged weapons, spreading their pestilence among their foes, often debilitating them, rendering them vulnerable and weak to a slaughter. Death Knights engage their foes up close, supplementing swings of their weapons with dark magic to deal a mixture of physical and magic damage. They can drag foes into one-on-one conflicts, prevent their enemies from fleeing their grasp, and even call upon entire armies of ghouls to assist them in tearing apart anyone who should stand in their way. And if an ally should fall, Death Knights answer and can raise them straight back up again to continue the fight. To protect themselves from death in battle, Death Knights are clad in heavy plate armor and parry attacks with their blades. They have a personal connection to their blades and can forge runes into them in order to increase their power. Death Knights are powerful in both PvE and PvP, with 2 DPS specs, and can even be a top tier tank with the Blood specialization, which focuses on increasing their survivability through lots and lots of self-healing as well as frequent damage mitigation cooldowns. Blood Death Knights are generally known for taking it to the face and relying more on their own abilities to heal themselves back up than trusting in a healer to do it for them. This can create some nice gameplay where you can take more risk as the power is in your own hands. It can also be very punishing though, because mismanagement of your resources and cooldowns can lead to a swift death. Keeping your bone shield up will be of high importance, as well as generating as much runic power as you can to fuel your death strikes. Doing this well in combination with your strong cooldowns like Dancing Rune Weapon and Vampiric Blood will make sure you never have to make use of the Purgatory talent, which will allow you to cheat death for a short time. There are even more damage oriented builds as well to take advantage of, like the iconic Bone Storm! The Unholy specialization focuses more on improving your diseases and summons. This is as close as you'll get to a necromancer in WoW, allowing you to permanently control an undead ghoul, improve your army of the dead with frequent uses of apocalypse, and even summon an undead gargoyle terror from the skies. Rot your enemies to death with damage over time diseases, bursting sores and pustules, made more potent through talents like Ebon Fever and Plaguebringer. Surround yourself in unholy blight while smashing your foes to pieces with death coils, or erupt your diseases in AoE with Epidemic to do huge amounts of damage with quadratic scaling. Unholy Death Knights can transform their ghouls into undead monstrosities every 45 seconds, bonding them to the player with flaming chains, cutting through anyone standing between them. This spec is methodical and focuses on setting up windows of opportunity and execute phases to get out the most damage. Frost Death Knights focus more on upfront damage, being able to do huge amounts of bursts, single target and cleave. These Death Knights cripple their enemies, slowing their escapes by freezing their very blood. Huge critical strikes are not uncommon for Frost Death Knights, chaining together their obliterates or frost size with killing machine procs to allow free uses of Howling Blast, dealing AoE damage and inflicting everyone around them with disease. Most of their AoE is involved in their single target rotation through talents like Remorseless Winter and Gathering Storm. They can play around having consistent smaller DPS cooldowns through cooldown reduction talents, or go for a more burst stacking playstyle with Breath of Sindragosa. This is an iconic ability where you can play a minigame to keep it up for as long as possible, dealing absolutely massive damage in the process. And if all else fails, well, just call upon a huge Frostworm to nuke everything in the area with an icy breath. All 3 specializations have incredible defensive capabilities too, being able to place down an anti-magic zone which will significantly increase the survivability of your raid, free yourself from stuns with Icebound Fortitude, and stop the application of magic effects with anti-magic shield. Frost and Unholy Death Knights can reach near unkillable status in PvP too, with Lichborn and Death Strikes for self-healing. One minor downside to Death Knights is that they can be less mobile than other classes, with no major gap closers aside from Death Grip. However, good use of Death's Advance and Wraithwalk can somewhat negate this, and with Abomination Limb being in the base talent tree in Dragonflight, there will be no escaping this class if they want a little one-on-one time. On screen is a first look at Death Knight tier sets and bonuses for the first raid of Dragonflight, Vault of the Incarnates. If you're looking for a strong melee fighter that is great for tanking and DPS overall, with an incredible class fantasy, then you can't go wrong with a Death Knight. Comment what you'll be maining in Dragonflight, and if you can't decide, check out the next class on screen now.